I have. That's a long story. But basically, it was called OFC Ireland Limited,
Right.
and or OFC, and then OFC Ireland Limited, and then in 2008 we met people who decided I was at an opening of one of our offices, and the people who'd done all the graphics on side, I handed him my business card, and he went, "Ooh, it's a bit agricultural, isn't it?" And so
Nice to meet you too.
aye, so he was kind of, but it worked because he says, "Oh, we can do so much more," and at the time things were very good. It was 2008, and we just that job was probably one of the biggest. It wasn't one of it was the biggest job we'd ever done, and. It was back in the days when you could actually make a couple of pound on a job, and people were the products were good and everything was good and times were good, and we were still the cheapest quote, but we had a good margin, and we decided let's go for it. So a few months of a process.
Okay.
I had wanted to call it something like active, or because one of our suppliers called Actu, which is Spanish for active, I believe. I wanted to call it something like that, something really catchy.
Yeah.
And they went through this process of there was 36 names, then it went down to 6, and then it went down to 2, and then it went down to 1, and they insisted on being called Dawson Hinds. And I was like, no, I don't know.
Why would you do that?
Because my father's business was called JB Hinds.
Right.
So I wanted to kind of stay away from that, but they called it Dawson Hinds, and ever since, nobody thinks it's me. Everybody thinks Dawson Hinds is two people, and it's like
It's a partnership.
Babcocks and Woolcocks or something. But it's been really good because it's very recognizable, and I was against it, but it actually worked out okay. And it was the best part was that they charges, I think it was £15,000.
Oh, okay.
For the pleasure,
for the privilege,
for that brilliant brains fart of making it cost nines.
Do you know what we should use? Your actual name.
We've really thought this through, and we've got this an amazing idea that you possibly couldn't have thought of. I definitely wouldn't have called it Dawson Hinds. No way.
It's a good story for 2008, though. It's
we still use the logos, and we still a lot of the design and language that they done was still being used by our current marketing company. We stopped using them at the time because every time you said hello to them, it cost you £1,500. So
charging you to lift their pay.
They were fantastic, but very expensive. They were kind of the Coca-Cola was their kind of people that they wanted to deal with, not
right. Okay.
Dawson Hinds, he was too tight.
It's going to cost you $1 million. You're like, right, sure, I'll give you a shout about that. Sure.
But we didn't know, the thing about it was we didn't know how much it was costing until we got the invoice, and then it was
right, okay.
Oh gracious, that's quite expensive.
Too late at that stage. You're like, okay,
you can't unring the bell.
But in one sense, it has made you that you guys are
well worth it.
Yeah, and you're probably the best known in the space, definitely in the Northwest, maybe actually throughout kind of Ireland and maybe to a lesser extent maybe the UK-ish.
Well, we have, I think it's probably like everyone else, we have our own customers that come to us, and then we get recommended. Most of our businesses through recommendations, and especially the big projects, people say, "Oh, we use such and such, and they're good." Yeah. That's really what you need, and the getting into those businesses with marketing won't work. It's such and such is the such and such. And that's how it happens. So,
and then it's trying to market to that conversation where somebody goes, "Oh, we have an office fit out to do. You know, who did you use? You know, oh, Dawson Hinds is great." And that comes down to reputation, really,
it's
and
the most random things. It's like one of the biggest, well, not the biggest, but a really good job we done was the CEO's PA was the person who was running the project. It was nothing to do with facilities. There was nothing to do with anything else. So this person was absolutely brilliant at the job,
right?
And so the CEO gave it to her to do, and she was perfect. But it was all done by her recommendations. She said to one of her mates, "Who would I get to do this?" And I got recommended, and that's how it happened. So how do you?
You could spend a fortune and still never get it.
And the thing about it is, you could actually send them an email right to their thing, and they would still ignore you if that someone says, "Oh, they're all right," or they've done a good job. That's it. So that's what's happened with us.
It's so difficult to get that conversation, and then particularly in business to business, say they're being marketed to kind of all the time.
Oh, for definite. And the facilities teams are inundated with stuff, so that's just they trying to do that marketing. You still have to do it, but it's
more a brand recognition.
It's part of the whole package of then. Oh, I think I've heard of them. I think I've seen their thing in LinkedIn.
Well, I think I've heard, or a marketing person has told me that they need to see you 7 times before they even actually remember that. Oh, that's something triggers in the back of their head. So trying to market to somebody, one individual at least 7 times is tough. But yeah. So I mean, you're known for supplying desks and chairs and things like that, but it's actually probably a good bit bigger than what people kind of really realize. And like you've done jobs throughout Europe, and you do full fit out so the whole way. Now we'll kind of come on to that, but let's go back to the start before we do that. So we always kind of tend to start at the beginning and then work our way through. But you're originally from Derry, and you went to school here. Ever left here?
Briefly.
For
about, I was in England for a year, and I went to live in New York, and I lasted 3 months.
I think that's just a long holiday, is it?
There's people who've been in longer holidays. And I came home to get my green card, and I never went back. So it was I have to be honest. I wasn't. The holiday section of my trip was over. I was turning into
This is a bit of a grind.
You have to eat, but you have to go to work every day.
I can't go out tonight.
Every day. Yeah. So it was the holiday was over, and I came home, and
I'd say New York reality is not rent as expensive.
The stuff at the time was like, I remember going, like, there was all these charity gigs for people who got hands chopped off in building sites, and no insurance, no health care, no nothing, and they couldn't come home because they couldn't get back into the country if they went home, and it was just like, no, it wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. So I'm glad it all worked out the way it did, but it kind of I had to do it. To realise that I'm a home bird.
That actually it's not so bad here.
Far off fields definitely look green, but I wasn't enjoying them for sure.
Were you a good student at school?
Absolutely not. No,
awful?
Terrible. I found out when I was about 28 that I'm dyslexic.
Right.
And that day I found out I was dyslexic. I was like, oh, yes, thank God. I'm not stupid. I really was that. So I'm not stupid. I thought I was stupid because if you get told off it enough, you're stupid. You start to believe it.
Yeah.
But I just, my brain, I now know my brain just works different. So there's pros and cons. I can't spell, and I'm not a good reader. But I've got good spatial awareness, and which is really handy for my work. But all the way through school, I was a handling. Like, I was just, because I basically I learned it later on, and I went to a course in a Chartered Management Institute.
Yeah.
And I went there, and we were having a class, and the guy was up at the front writing stuff on the blackboard, and there was a big handout that came out. And honestly, I just went into a default position. I started heckling the guy. I started acting a messer. And we went and had a tea break. And while I was at the tea break, I was like, what are you doing? And I realised then that's how I got through school.
Right.
So I wouldn't be found out for being stupid. I would just be an ass in class and get people laughing and winding up and just being an arc. So I spent most of my time at the back of the class or at the front of the class, wherever the extra special people got put. I hated it. I hated school.
But it just shows you though that some people just aren't, like you're saying, like you couldn't do certain things, and that's kind of, school was designed for a certain way, and it doesn't fit.
But I think as well, I had a conversation years and years and years ago with somebody, and they said something. I was just like, he says, that's probably why you've got such a fire in your belly now, because you have something to prove. So that's why you push yourself so hard, just because you want to prove that you're not stupid and useless and lazy, which you were told, which I was told a lot. Stupid, useless and lazy. They may not have said those words, but that's what I heard. And it did give me the big push then, that kind of fire in my belly they push on and push on and push on, which I have. And now I think I'm getting to the other end of that push thing now, where I'm kind of like,
not sure I can push anymore.
Have I proved it yet? Am I good enough yet? Am I enough?
A psychological session here.
Tell me about your mother. No, it was no. So the answer to your question, I was a terrible, horrible pupil.
But it really just goes to show you that not everybody is designed for that way of doing it. You know, some people just aren't suited to the academic side, and you know, trying to force them into it just results in them being kind of disruptive, and maybe trying to change that to more. I don't know how you would do it. I'm not.
I heard a good thing on when I found out about being dyslexic. I looked up the Dyslexic UK website, which at the time was like a page.
Right.
It was a long time ago. So it was a page, and it was like a green background with different coloured writing, and it just says that if everybody had to learn to play the piano, some people would be absolutely amazing. Some people could just pass themselves, and some people just couldn't do it. It's the exact same with reading.
Right. Okay.
And I just thought,
really
you
good.
know what, that's pretty good. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. And but it happens in everything. Like, some people are really good at math, some people are all right, and some people are absolutely terrible. And then, you know, like, to be fair, English wouldn't have been my strong point either. And everybody goes, "Oh, you're an accountant, you must be great at maths." I'm like, "I'm not that good, really."
I've got a good calculator.
I know, yeah. Like, they're like, "How do you not know how to add that up?" I'm like, "It's my mental arithmetic's just not great."
That's one thing I can count fast in my head.
Yeah, but it's amazing when you see some guys, you know, sometimes playing darts who can't, you know, maybe not can't spell or do whatever, but like, you know, 3 darts in a row, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's 163," and you're like, right, okay, of course it is. But you know, I suppose it shows you, some people are good at different things. But she left school, I assume, then 16, and then straight into
Springtown Training Centre.
Right. Okay.
To do my BVT for the summer. And then I applied to get on the apprenticeship to be an electrician. And
did you enjoy that part?
Enjoyed BVT. I really did. It was like CDT in school, which I enjoyed, but every day, all day, it was class. and getting onto my apprenticeship actually was, again, just like so lucky. They sent out the application, sent out the appointment, and they said that you had to have, I think it was 5 C's.
Right.
And I'd failed all mine, so I didn't go. And so I just thought, so then I went back to school, which I hated, so that I could get the right results to be an electrician. And then the second interview came out, and I didn't go because I hadn't got the right results. And then a couple of months later, I got it came out again, and my mother just says, "Go for it, just go and see what happens." So I went, and the guy doing the interview says, "Why didn't you come to the first interview?" And I explained, because I didn't have the right exam results. "Why didn't you come to the second one?" Same thing. "So what are you doing now?" I says, "Oh, I'm back at school repeating my exams because I really want to do this." And once I heard that, obviously, if I had went to the first one, I wouldn't have got it. But because I had made such an effort, I think, and then I got it, and because my academic prowess was not good, so it was obviously that. But do you know what? I've had a good few really lucky things like that have happened.
But I might, like, just on that, like, if your mum hadn't said that day, and then, you know,
and I wouldn't have stuck school. There's no way I would have stuck school. So I don't know where I would have been now, but I definitely couldn't have stuck it. I hated it, and I knew my mother had to beg them to take me back.
I promise it'll be good this time.
I swear to God, I swear it'll be good this time. But I know I wouldn't have stuck it. So it's like seconds and inches, like all the way through everything. Like, if you had turned left, this would have happened, and I turned right. You know, I was lucky. I believe I was lucky, and a wee bit of hard work too.
Well,
a wee bit.
Fair. Can't have one without the other. But you did then go on and qualify. So you're fully qualified electrician.
Electrician, and I'd done it for a full 2 weeks. I was fully qualified for a full 2 weeks.
What?
5.5 years was your 3 years, 3.5 years, and then 2 years to be approved.
Right.
And I done 5.5 years in 2 weeks. I literally, when I got approved, I got my JAB card, and I started driving a van for my sister. So a very qualified, well qualified van driver. I would have had to travel I spent a bit of time in England and a bit of time in America, and living out of a sports bag
Right,
wasn't going to
okay,
be for me.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was either go to Dublin to get a job and get money, or do something else. So I did something else, and I started driving a van and helping out with my sister. And then in the evening, I was using her van to do removals, and I was using her van to do electrical jobs, and I was winging it. And then I was doing that for about 6 months. And then my father says to me, my sister was moving out of the building in Victoria Road,
Right, okay.
and my dad said, "This is my interview for running my own business. You want to go?" Okay. We literally had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So that started from there.
But and what age are you here? So about
23, 22.
right, okay.
So at 16,
This was post New York though.
Oh, I was after everything. I was back, and we were. Things were changing, and I knew I was going to be staying in Derry with a family.
Right, okay.
So Eve wasn't born yet, but she was on the way.
Right, okay.
And
It changes a few things.
I made decisions that changed, but I think the heading off to far off lands to seek me fortune wasn't a thing anymore. I just had to get the head down. So I got the head down, and my dad borrowed £1,550 out of the credit union, and we bought a crappy lorry, and it all began from there.
But prior to that, you'd worked for E&I.
Worked for E&I, worked for Thermal Electrics, and I was
Just not to say you had some pretty good experience behind, but nothing in relation to kind of what you then ultimately
Well, my
ended
father
up on.
had done furniture, but it was domestic furniture.
Right, okay.
So when we started off, we were doing second-hand domestic furniture.
Okay.
And then we were doing, if it wasn't for my father now, I wouldn't have any of this, but he kind of had a bit of a brain for it, and he was like, we'll buy these. So we started buying second-hand hospital furniture.
Right, okay.
So, and they're shitty lorry.
Okay.
And we would go to Belfast or Dungannon or wherever, Downpatrick, and collect the stuff. And then we would go down around the hospitals in Donegal. This is before the Celtic Tiger. And they were still buying second-hand
So you're in
stuff.
early 2000s here?
So it's a long time. It was 27 years ago. 20.
You're actually in the late 90s or sort of mid late
So
90s.
I can't remember how long it is, but it's not the
Wasn't
earliest
today.
thing. So it's 28 years ago, and it was good. Like, we had good crack, and the lorry was so good. I think the lorry was that good. It didn't start, because there was that much oil leaking out of it. It got under the starter. Right. So we lived up at the top of a hill. So we parked the lorry in reversed the lorry in at night, and then I pushed it in the morning and got it rolling, jumped in, started it. And I remember we went to Downpatrick Hospital, and there was no hill. So we had to leave the engine running all day because it wouldn't have started. And the guy kept on saying, your lorry's running. We know. We know. And it took us, we had to wait 2 weeks to get the money together to pay Santam to fix the lorry. So that's how much money we were.
But do you know what? It's really good to see that that's the way it starts. Is that just you kind of do what you have to do, and at the start, people think that they start their own business and immediately they're going to become this kind of thing. But it's a lot of winging it. Sometimes at the start, and sometimes a wee bit too much winging it.
It was just all winging it. It was just all winging it. It was. It was. Do you know what? It was the best of crack.
Yeah.
And then we done it we done the hospital furniture for a long time, and it was heavy and dirty, heavy work, and it was just, but it was good. There was money in it, so we just kept doing it, and we had great fun. Like, we had definitely a lot of crack, and but it was long days, long hours, 6 days a week.
But it's just yourself and your father at this stage. Mm-hmm. Just two of you, and so you're doing all the purchasing, the removals,
everything. I was head of every department.
I'm chief of everything.
The super boss.
Yeah,
I was, and
but it's that thing about just it needs done, so you do it. And
the office furniture happened totally by accident, because we started really getting into second-hand domestic, and I hated domestic furniture because it was the question that just makes me shudder is, have you got a different colour of black? And you're like, no, don't. But obviously you don't say that. You're like, well, that's, but
that's the most popular black to have.
Oh my God, that kind of, I love that, but have you got a different shade of blue? And you're like, no, that's the only one we have. It's second hand.
Yeah.
So it kind of was frustrating. The office furniture happened completely by accident. One of the hospitals we were doing, we left at a desk, and the desk was gone in 2 days. And
Right, okay.
then we got 2 desks and another, and it didn't. And then the 2 desks came and they were gone quite quickly. And then it was like, my dad says, why don't we just buy office furniture directly? And so we went to an auction in Belfast. And we actually didn't go in. We bought the desks from someone who bought it at the auction in Belfast before we knew where the auction was. And we bought
so
it.
even again, then you found out that there was a better way. You know, that you could actually buy at auction.
We bought like 8 desks and gone. And we bought 8 desks and 8 chairs, gone. 16 desks, and then we fired out all the household furniture. We dumped it all. and that
Nobody cared about the colour of black that the legs were.
The people were easier going, and like the things that really big, not big, but my landmark things were Derry City Council closed their office. Everything went to carried off auction. We went to carried off auction and brought it all back.
So, good for the environment.
100%. But that and our main competitor burnt down.
Right. Okay.
I had nothing to do with it. I swear to God.
It's pure accident.
But they burnt down and didn't open up again for maybe 6 months. And by the time they'd opened up again, we were up and running.
So it was just then a response to, like, you know, we'll do that, and then it was just the demand was there.
It was just it's simple. If hospital beds had been the way they were, it would have been easier. We would have still be selling hospital beds.
Yeah.
So the desks was just, and then we eventually we stopped doing hospital furniture, and I used to just buy everything. I bought 7 containers of racking out of a submarine base, and I bought a whole pile of inflatable boats, and I bought. No, it just
okay.
The boys would just phone up and give you a number, and you would say no, and I'll give you this, and they would say okay, and then
you'd try a lot of stuff and see what worked, and then.
But I think it was the good thing about office furniture is it's scalable easily, because if you we started off doing office, and we were lucky as well. We've got clients now that we had then. So
right, yeah.
When I started off with 3 desks, I was working with people who needed 3 desks.
Yeah.
And then they grew, and I grew, and we all grew together. And
so you've kept a relationship with quite a few of them.
Quite a few of them. And it's just like when they needed an £80 desk, I sold £80 desks.
Yeah.
And now that people are a wee bit more affluent and they're looking for £9,000 curvy sofas, I have them now.
Yeah.
So I've grown with demand. It's not that I've woken up one morning and go, know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm not an innovator. I just provide what people ask for. So it's so we just provide what they need, and do you know what? We've been lucky with it.
But it's listening to your customers though as well. Like, I mean, there's a fair amount of that on it, and seeing how it goes. But you know, it's just like having. You know, some people think that you have this plan at the start, but there's a lot of learning, a lot of testing, a lot of things that don't work. I mean, did the boats work?
They were all sold, and then I couldn't get any more.
Right. Okay. So it's a logistical problem.
It was just a supply and demand. I had all and every time I tried to diversify. Diversification seemed like a good idea.
Right. Okay.
A few times,
mm-hmm.
and I started doing stationery, and I'd ran that for a couple of years, and then I'd looked at the numbers one day, and it was like, my God, why are we doing this? And it was, I took ego out of it. It was like, what will people think? I didn't think that. I didn't have that. It was just like, we're not making any money.
Yeah.
We're not making enough money to pay for the nonsense that we have to put up with. So it's not our business. So we kept it running maybe 2-3 years, and I had it gone in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
When we realised that we weren't losing money, but we weren't making money, and there was 3 full-time staff and a store full of crap, and just it was a nonsense. So and we weren't good at it. So we stopped it, and we've tried. Like we were going to do confidential shredding, and we had we'd won it. One is too strong a word, but we'd been told that we would have the contracts for 2 different places if we did it.
Right.
And same thing. I was going my way to Dublin to buy the machine, and just had this wave of just like, this isn't right. And basically what it was a distraction. So it would have distracted me from what we do. So I would have been spending more time trying to start this business than doing my job.
Yeah. So sometimes sticking to the knitting is the.
I think it's stick to what I'm good at it, and I know what I'm talking about. And these are things would have been nice bolt-ons, but I would have needed to then pay somebody to manage it and grow it, and then I would have been. And my experience was I would have ended up micromanaging it. So I would have been half doing all my jobs. So,
but then like so there's other parts of it that kind of have developed alongside it. So I mean, at the start it was obviously second-hand office furniture, but it's kind of evolved over time now into a full end-to-end process. So somebody comes to you and said, I have this space, and you will design it from start right the way through, fit it out. So literally they can say to their staff, right, go sit down there, you're ready to go. And you take all that hassle out of it for them. They just basically have to look at the renders that you give them and go, do you like this? Do you like that? Do you like? So you did kind of go back to the shades of black.
That's my favourite. There's 47 shades of blue, but
and I'm obligatory.
You see when you're actually talking about like fabrics and stuff to people, it's like I've really learned to simplify it. It's like you can have this band of fabric and it's going to cost you this. You can have this band of fabric and it's going to cost you this. And you can have this band of fabric and it's going to cost you this. How much do you want to spend? And most people, if it's a crack team of accountants, it's the cheapest. and if it's the person who's actually going to be sitting in the office, they would go for something a bit softer. And it's really like literally, again, it's just through experience of going that 1,000 questions you have to ask people. Like it's basically the first question is, what do you want it to be at the end? What do you need? How many people do you have? And how much do you want to spend? And then you work back from that. And then the logistics all work themselves. Like again, with experience, you know that you have to have people on take out the old desks and lift up the old carpet, and then you have to re-prepare the floor, and you have to do this, and you have to get electricians,
but sometimes it might be pointing out things that they have not thought of. They're kind of like, oh, it's just fine, just go on and fit it out. And you're like, well,
that is. I was talking about this actually this morning on the way in. I was talking to somebody in the car. I was like, I'm working on a project in Dublin at the minute, and they're totally disorganised, and they left it too late to start the conversation about furniture, and they literally are moving in 3 weeks' time, and they haven't ordered the stuff yet. So I'm not sleeping, I'm stressed, and they're probably not. So I was up this morning at 4 o'clock going, how the heck? No, we can't. So it's madness that I am stressed about other people's disorganisation, but I think that's like I really do take it. I really do take it seriously. And like, and I'm like, they were up on Friday. They came up from Dublin on Friday to the showroom. They went through the stuff again, and they were like, oh, "It'll be grand." That's going to happen.
Keep staff arriving at the door in 3 weeks.
We are not going to have the furniture even in the country the week commencing the 5th of December. So how are you going to do it? But I get stressed about stuff like that, and other people don't. But I think that I keep on saying I'm going to stop stressing. But I don't know, I don't. But that would annoy me, that I'm going to let them people down, even though it's not my fault. So I'm trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat, and like I'm doing 4 times the amount of work that I need to do on a project that size, because I'm trying to find an equivalent that I can get quicker. So I don't know if they'll appreciate that at the end, but it's just how I'm made. Like, but
that's saying what's kind of built it is the reputation and the thing that that's where the conversations that you were talking about come into, where they're like, have you office furniture, who did you fit out? Oh, Dawson, he's pretty good at that, and go and have a chat.
The less conversations probably you're having with clients, like these chairs can't be delivered in time, and they don't want to hear about that. They just want to hear. They don't want to hear how you fixed it. They just want to know they're here.
You come to them and go, actually, that chair is going to take 6 weeks, but this one's going to take 3, and they're like, all right, okay, that's fine.
That's again back to most people who are in the bigger jobs. Most people who are picking the stuff don't sit in the office, so they're like, whatever. Is it going to be okay? Do it then. But I don't know how. Like, there's no magic wand for this job in Dublin. It's just not happening in 3 weeks.
But so you basically are so. One man needs a desk, is fitting out an office. I need a desk, a chair, I don't know, whatever else for my office. But right the way up to, what's the largest you've done in terms
1,600
people? 1,600 people in one fit out?
Well, it was one job, but it was done, and it had to be, because there was multiple floors. We had to do a swing space. So when we were
a swing space, explain that to an accountant.
So there was.
What happens in a swing space?
Well, there's 1,600 people and there's 1,600 desks and chairs, and you need to change the 1,600 desks and chairs. So you need to find, if there's 10 floors, there's 160 people per floor. So you need to have a space to put them 160 people while you're refitting the office. So that's a swing space.
Okay.
So they swing on there.
They swing on there and then go back out whilst you're.
So what we did with that one was that we done we actually done 2 swing space floors in different buildings in Dublin. I didn't organise that. Now I was part of I fitted them and everything, but I didn't organise that. But the 2 swing space buildings, and so they put 160 people or 200 or 320 people over into the floor, depending. And so those people moved over and stayed in those buildings. We fitted out the floor, and then these people moved over to this floor. And so we went through 2 buildings like that.
So it was a phased.
I thought it was all phased. Because they had they couldn't. They didn't have a space for 1,600 people to go at one time.
But these aren't small companies. These are, some of your previous ones. I don't know, because they're on your website, I can mention them. So you have had like Omega, Coca-Cola was one, was it? And then you've had quite a few of the banks in Dublin. Mm-hmm. Like, again, is that word of mouth that you? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like somebody in. Like KBC or something in Ireland, just to says
the first big job that I did was the job that I met that designer at. That was I think, I can't remember, 600 people. I can't remember how many people it was, but it was a massive job. It was £480,000 value.
Right. Okay.
So I think it was. I don't remember.
Like a contract value.
That was the biggest job I had won at that, and that job was, I met someone at the door of Stream in Springtown, a contractor in for a day's work, and I met him and someone else at the door, and the boy I was with was chatting to them, and then I got chatting, and we had a conversation for about 10 minutes, swapped business cards. About 4 or 5 months later, the guy phoned me up and he says, "Listen, I have a job in Galway for 30 people. I can't get a quote off anybody. Nobody's quoting it." It was back in the time when business was big, so they weren't quoting small jobs because it was out in the country, so nobody would quote them. So I gave them all a full presentation, quotes, drawings, and sent it to them. And then through something, it was a funded thing, and there was a mistake in the funding, so the job didn't get funded, so it didn't happen. And about another 8 or 9 months passed, and he phoned up again, and he says, "I know I messed you about the last time, but would you be interested in doing a job for 30 people in Belfast?" I said, "No problem at all." And I was like, happy days. 30 people was a big job for me. So I said, happy days. It turned out to be that job.
Right.
And that's how it happened, because I met him on a doorstep. So.
Okay. But then, like, a doorstep, and then, 16 months later?
So it was, but it was just that connection.
Yeah.
And then he rang, and then I told him what he needed to hear, which was, yes, I can do that, and yes, I'm willing to do it, and it doesn't matter that it's in wherever, Galway or Belfast, we'll do it. Yeah. And when we got that one, then that opened up doors for another, and
it was just progressive from there. Mm-hmm. But you've done like some seriously, like I was kind of amazed that, I mean, I've seen some of the work previously, but some of the jobs, like Learning Pool, is unbelievable in terms of the pictures and the vision and the the workspace.
We worked with a designer, and that is Shauna Stewart was engaged by Velvet Tears.
Right. Okay.
So she done the design, and then we brought some furniture, and they try and match it. So, we work closely with her. We've done a few projects with her. She's very good. We do work with, in Dublin as well. We work with a lot of like good architects and designers as well, which makes my job easy because they just send you a list.
But it must be really rewarding to kind of see it from the kind of, as you say, it starts with a conversation. They go, "Wow, this is a space, right? What do you want it to be at the end up?" And then, taking it from there, like, there's a huge amount of work in between, obviously, like you're saying, removing carpets, fixing floors, doing all those things, painting, whatever else. But then whenever the jobs are finished, it must be really satisfying to look at it and kind of go, "Geez, that's pretty impressive now." Because some of the pictures are amazing.
You know what? It really is. Like, you get it finished, and that's all you do, a couple of high fives, and then you go on to the next one. It's like I say this to people. when I finish your office, like 15 seconds after we're finished, I'll never see it again. You have to be here. So what do you want?
Yeah.
What?
There's no point in me designing it for me.
That's where the conversation starts. What do you want it to be at the end? You're
Yeah.
going to be here every day. What do you need it to be?
Yeah.
What's the minimum requirement that you can bear to be? And most people, like a lot of people, still are doing that. That we've got £3.50 for the budget and we'll stick with it. And can you do it any cheaper? And then there's other people who are taking sort of valuing the staff, and that like, you have to do like Google. You have to do the rabbit ears on the Google. That everybody wants a Google Office. Mostly on a bit of a shoestring or a bit of a smaller budget, but I think people who care about their employees really are taking this seriously. And the thing with COVID happening, people have been working from home, and to entice somebody back, the brown desks, shitty coffee, and bad carpet. It's the people aren't feeling it. So that a lot of the places we're doing now are at kind of opening up the space, brightening up the space, softening up the space, making it more homely. So that's what the sofas and the bookcases and the soft furnishings and stuff, which absolutely transforms spaces.
Yeah,
it reduces your capacity, but I don't even that like people who were ramming them in are now not. They're changing. The work environments are changing to actually be a nicer place.
But it is like, because you spend so much time there, or like particularly say if you work for one of them, I don't know, the tech firm. But I have heard that some of the tech firms, that people are actually leaving because of the office space. They're kind of going, oh, LinkedIn have nicer offices, so I'm going to go over there. And you're like, really? That's the career choice? But it genuinely, because
nicer
you spend
coffee.
So much nicer coffee. Yeah. They do Lavats, I've heard.
But that's the facilities. Yeah. And like if you get paid the same, they go and work in a nice office. Or like again, I'm not in that world of how or why people do things, but it's when we're given up until now, like the brief 10 years ago was how many people can you get in?
Yeah.
And then when I was doing that job in Dublin, like halfway through the project, there were some changes. They started introducing more soft space, and then it took 2 years to do that. So there was all the phases. At the start of it, it was like ram them in. The middle of it, they started taking out some of the desks off the designs and putting in like meeting spaces and huddle spaces and soft spaces, and then further on towards then, they started introducing 10% of the desks were sit stand.
Right.
So all these things just creep in, and we hear about them. The Scandinavian countries seem to sort of sit stand desks and this, and they happen there first, and then they kind of come here. But the sit stand desk thing, I think, is the prices have come way down.
Yeah.
And the quality has gone way up.
Yeah.
So you can actually buy a decent sit stand desk now. It won't make your eyes water.
Yeah. But at the start they were
shocking.
But they actually are. They do actually work. Like I do actually have one, and they, but it's a kind of cheap version of it. But like it actually is very useful. So all that stuff that the Scandinavians start with, and then people here kind of like, oh, what's that? That's the pillar. But eventually it does then filter through. But it does take time.
Within the last 6 months, I've done a complete office and dairy with like 30-40 staff, and everybody got a sit stand desk. Which is that's starting to happen. So people are saying, oh well, this is twice the price, but it's worth it.
It's the benefits of it. And then like you say, the huddle spaces and having kind of the more like informal spaces where people can sit, because it is about that kind of like you were saying, cram them in at one stage, but if not everybody's talking and stuff, and then it depends on what they do obviously, but it does kind of stifle conversation or creativity or whatever you call it.
20 years ago, 15 years ago, I got a report from one of our suppliers, and it was like they do a report every month on all these different things, but they were basically saying that there was two parts of it, but one of them was the office chair, and they sell office chairs, so obviously they were punting it. So they were saying that if you take somebody like an engineer or an accountant, somebody who's on a decent hourly wage, and you say, right, we're going to get them a chair for 50, at the time it was like a £50 chair or a £250 chair, And so the crack team of accountants again bought the £50 chair.
It's because we can't get overpriced.
so but then if you say, right, well, that chair's uncomfortable, so the person doesn't even know that their butt has gone numb, and they've gone a walk up to the printer, or they've gone out for a smoke, or they've gone over to talk to their mucker, or they've gone a walk. So if you add that up, and they do that 10 minutes 3 times a day, which is conservative, so that's 30 minutes per day, and then you add that up over a week, 2.5 hours, and then you add it up over a year. Your chair just got expensive.
Yeah.
But you try explaining that to somebody who just looks at the bottom line. But when you look at it's like the capex and opex budgets. So that depends who's paying for it, and people are willing to rent furniture. I've done more rental jobs, because of that budgets.
Yeah.
The client's paying for it if it comes out of this, and if they're paying if it comes out of this, even though it's a fraction of the price, they still do it the expensive way because they don't have to pay it. But that's that kind of, so the apex and the capex and opex thing is, when I hear it, I'm just like,
this makes no sense.
This is crazy. But that chair thing, like, people don't.
But it is. In fairness, I would never think of it like that. But there obviously are hidden costs to things if you don't.
It's just, even if you took it 10 minutes a day, and then when somebody's costing you £20-30 an hour, that doesn't belong. Like, that making the good chair cheap. No, it doesn't.
But then you have it. A chair's not something you would change every year. So you're talking about that over maybe 5-8 years, depending on
how cheap it was when you buy it. It might be changing it more often than you think.
You might only get 3 of those.
It's not going to say that. No, they're not going to still take breaks.
Yeah,
but they're just not going to take as many, and they might just be skivers, but you can't stick to that. But just taking that sum, like, you get it can justify a spend in that environment, that office environment, when people are just saying, no, before COVID it was just like, get in, shut up.
Yeah.
And now they're like, no, we're going to work from home, and they don't come in, and they don't want to come in. So now it's back on the employer to make the environment nicer.
But see, like it's not, staff retention now is much more difficult than it was, and the jobs market, just trying to replace a member of staff is just.
That same company, Sadis is what you call, they're German, they're a massive big firm, and they sent out a thing about the cost of just general fit outs in office, and there was like 2 triangles, one like that, one upside down, and this is the amount that you spend on the furniture. You look at your retention, how much it costs to train somebody, get them on board them, train them, get them up to running, takes 6 months, and then they leave. Whereas if you've got a nice environment that worked out, it's actually cheaper to make a nice office environment than it was to keep paying to train new staff. And that's regardless of if you use recruitment firms or do whatever. I mean, like, you try and get a recruitment firm to do it. I mean, geez, like, it's 20% of the salary and stuff like that. So getting good people's hard, and then keeping good people's hard. No, it really is. And it's one of the things that kind of quite a few clients have said recently. They're like, how are you finding jobs market? And you're like, listen, that's just the way it is. But like, back to that same conversation, if I was having this conversation with someone who has to buy 50 or 60 desks and positions, and you're explaining this to them, they still can't get past all that. But it's £250. It's £250. But when you try and explain it to them, they still can't get past it sometimes. But there's other people who are totally on board with it, and then there's other people that wouldn't matter if somebody came and explained it in perfect sense. They still can't just get past it. Yeah, but then I suppose it does come down to budget sometimes, and they're just like, listen, like, we just don't, we literally can't do it. That'll be grand. But like you throughout your time, so there's obviously the evolvement or the evolution of Dawson Hinds over the years, and kind of how it's created. But you yourself, like, you've developed, you kind of touched on it there. So you've done a leadership course with Invest NI, and then a chartered management course. Mm-hmm. How important do you think development of kind of a business owner is in the overall journey? I think that going to those things, like, there was funding for them, so I get 50% of the cost of them. They were quite expensive, like, but I wouldn't have done them if I had to pay the full amount. Yeah, I'll put it like that. But
Would you still have been in the same opinion afterwards?
Oh no, I was on. I think what I learned from that was, it's an old saying, but I just didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And when I went there, I was like, both peer groups. So there was one one was kind of local, one was in Belfast. The Invest NI leadership program in Belfast, and I was the smallest company by a country mile, and there was like one person there had 400 and something staff, and the other person, they were having like conversations. Oh yeah, we're trying to put our turnover up by 2% this year, so that'll give us another 30 million. And you're like, okay, you had to have £1 million turnover or £2 million turnover. I can't remember which one it was. I like literally had it by about £4.60. I just about got on it, and. But what I learned on that was that it doesn't matter if you've 460 staff or 4 staff, it's the same ballers.
Yeah.
And the same, and something I rarely do is give my team credit. I have a fantastic, it's not just me.
Yeah.
There's a fantastic team of people behind me, and I've kissed a few frogs as well with staff, and they stayed frogs but I've had some really, really, really good people in my time, and people do move on after a while. It's time to move on for people, but
change.
At the minute, we have a fantastic team of people, and it's people the thing that I learned probably from those programs was micromanaging. It's terrible micromanager. I wanted to know everything.
You are, or
me?
Yeah,
I am. I was. I'm not now.
Like control freak.
Oh, total.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Because it started off, it was me and my dad, and then it was me and I was doing everything. Like my dad was in his late 60s, so he was just messing. He was done. He'd done his work. He'd done his work. So he wanted to go to, if the sun was shining, he wanted to go to play golf.
Yeah.
I understand now. I'm getting on to be a man of a certain age myself, and I get it. I get it now. He didn't have the same drive as I had, so I was pushing, and he was like, "I'm away to play golf."
I've done my pushing.
I've done my. So I did. That's cool. Managing and controlling and everything but everything was going through me, because I was buying it and I was selling it, and then I was organising them to deliver it, and. I just ended up it was just getting a couple of good people to come on, and Jackie, my wife, works with us, and she was she had more of a vision of what it would look like in the future than I had. I was just get it out the gate, get it out the gate, and I was in the main office. And I had an office, but I didn't sit in it, so I sat up in the main office listening to everybody and keeping an eye on everything, because I thought I had to. And she sort of suggested that after she came for 6 months and just looked and seen what was happening, and after 6 months she started making some changes. And she'd been a manager in the civil service, so she was trained to do these things, and I was an idiot so she I went for my lunch one day and came back and all my stuff was gone. So my computer, everything was moved, and I was like, "You don't sit here anymore. You sit down there." And it was really difficult to get past that whole not being in the middle of everything. It kind of was lost. And
was it really scary? Obviously it took time for you to let the control go.
I was letting go.
Yeah,
it was just letting go. It was like, no, I just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah,
because that was my job. So. Ended up, I would say 90% of the job that I used to do is gone. So I have the 10% of the job that I do now. Some people might say I don't work that much. I don't work that hard. But I'm still as busy, but I'm just focused on different things. I just look after different things, and I don't, I used to know if a van had a puncture or if it needed diesel, or if, and now I don't know anything about any of that. I don't know, I don't know who supplies our phones. I don't know any of those things anymore, but I used to do all them things.
Yeah.
And the turnover has grown a bit, and things have changed a bit, and we're doing different things, and I'm kind of freed up to do those things.
But it allows you, like you're saying, it allows you more time to actually focus on.
It's I don't know. There's people who who work for other people, I think that maybe are much better at being compartmentalized. No, this is my job.
Yeah.
I don't do your job. Whereas because I done every job, I still sometimes get sucked into. Now, not very often. That's the good thing about working with my wife. She'll just say, "Please remove yourself from my flower. please mind your own business." But she'll just tell me, "No, pack it in. Leave it alone." It's
probably a good, where somebody can just go.
No, she came. I don't know either of us were sure it was going to be. But it's been really good. Like, so obviously, there's days that and imagine that's in any business with any people. But in the main, like, it's been really good. Really, her skills and my skills together make one good managing director.
Well, I actually had heard somebody describe it before that, your job as a business owner, it was like, I'm not good at very many things, but what I am is a professional delegator. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, that's my job, is basically delegating stuff and making sure that everything's, he said, everybody else has to do their jobs and things, but my job is making sure that the rest of it works. And but I'd kind of go, it's a strange way to describe it, but it probably is true, because
bigger firms probably more.
Yeah.
Like there's a sales director who doesn't do sales.
Yeah.
So but we're not there. Like I'm still head of 3 desk sales and 103 desk sales. Like,
yeah.
So, we've got. That's not true, but I look after projects and I do about a design, space planning. I'm not a designer. I'm a space planner, but I do that and I enjoy it. And it's
goes back to the CAD days.
So it's just like it's drawing pictures. it's kind of a mixture between drawing nice pictures and playing Tetris, because you have to get everything's a rectangle.
The blocks,
the office is a rectangle, the desks are rectangles, your walkways are rectangles.
Yeah.
So you just get the rectangles, they fit and be legal, and then you pick some nice colours and job's a good one.
But like you were saying, so just to kind of go on, so you've been through two recessions and a pandemic now, so some pretty turbulent times. The first one, I don't think it was as bad here, but there was the 2000s one, then there was obviously 2008, which was pretty severe, and then you had 2020. So
I didn't even know there wasn't a recession in the 2000s. we were buying second-hand hospital beds and second-hand racking. So there was no recession, and there was, like, I didn't know about that one. 2009, different story now.
Yeah,
that was we were flat out, and just overnight it was like there was lights on, lights off. That's how fast it happened, and we went down by about 70% turnover overnight. And no, we never laid anybody off or made anybody redundant or sacked anybody, but 7 people left. One went and set up his own business, one done this, one done that, one went into work a factory. We didn't, but we actually, that year, the first year of that recession, we turned over 70% less and made more money.
Right. So how does that work?
I don't know.
But is it, you see, because they say it drives innovation, so was it just the fact that you kind of went, like, we really need to look at stuff here?
What we did that year was we emptied offices.
Right.
We were, a couple of big hitters were relocating, so the buildings had to be emptied, and they needed somebody to do it. So instead of putting furniture in, we took furniture out, and it was kind of just putting lots of bodies on jobs and getting paid per hour. And so there was one job that basically how it came about that first year was people were relocating, but they had buildings full of furniture. And then the rates office just as well, if you haven't got that building completely emptied by this date, you have to pay a year's rates. And it was maybe £200,000-300,000 of rates to be paid. So if I had it, whatever I said the price was, they would have paid it to get them buildings emptied, so they didn't have to pay a year's rates.
Whatever your quoting's less than rates.
I didn't know that.
But was it? Did you kind of make a conscious decision to kind of change what you did, or is that something you always did, or was it an accident, or what way did that work?
It was just the same as before. Like, if I had a if I had been able to sell rubber boats, that's what I would be selling. Like,
Yeah.
Or if I had been able to sell like racking, that's what I would be selling, or hospital beds. And so that time was people and vans, and so we just sold people and vans. And so,
But so it's basically trying stuff. You know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't,
inventions, those necessity is the mother of invention. Like, if somebody asks you, do you do that? The answer is normally, yeah, of course we do. I don't know how to, but I'll find out.
Yeah.
And especially in recession times, it's like, do you empty buildings? Yes, I do.
Yes.
We're brilliant at that.
The actual answer is, I don't at the moment, but I will in about a week's time.
But we actually got it done, and it was it started off, they needed it done in 6 weeks, and then it was 4 weeks, and then it was a week. And it was like, so we had to have every desk, every computer, every single thing. We had 3 big roll-on skips going, and I think there was 18 people working in it. And it was literally everything out, cables, the lot, and the floor hoovered. And we just gave them a figure and they were like, "Hello, get it done." But that's how that year managed. The next year, whatever the next year was, we have COVID was different.
Right.
We always managed to keep eating. We never starved. We never lost money. In all the years I was in business, I never lost money until COVID.
Right.
And that was different, because if all the offices in the world are closed, then you sell office furniture. It would be a suboptimal business.
Suboptimal. Yeah.
But
and that was pretty much overnight as well.
Oh, 28th of March 2020.
Stop.
We were fitting out that big bank in Dublin, and it was either a packet of screws or a foot or something missing for 2 desks, and those 2 desks never got built. Never. And the office was closed. And that day we were in Dublin on the 28th of March. We literally parked right. Now you couldn't stop even at the front of the building. We parked at the front of the building the whole day, and there was nobody. Didn't block anybody because there was no traffic and there was no people. Madness. So we parked right out the front door of a building that you would be arrested.
Main part of Dublin.
Arrested any other day. There was just no people, and for basically over 2 years, we didn't hunt. Dublin. I wasn't even in Dublin again for 2 years.
Yeah.
I physically didn't go to. I was there every 2 weeks, and I wasn't.
Was it worrying?
First 2 years were class. We moved house and done all the work at the house and worked 2 or 3 hours a day, and then after about 2 years, it was starting to go, holy shit. We were running out of money, so it was, and then I had a few sleepless nights.
But you must have then been. Is this the thing that how you've run the business then is not kind of overstretching yourself and not making sure there is like a rainy day fund, and now. I assume you didn't have a 2-year pandemic fund.
No, but we didn't. We just broke even, or made a wee bit. No, we got the grants, grants and the money, and we borrowed. We took the loan, and we took everything we could get, and we didn't lose money, but it wasn't far off.
Yeah.
So if you took away all the grants,
the supports,
we definitely would have had a different outcome. And we were still, some of our clients had actually very good pandemics. Like some people who make building materials and others, they were expanding. So there were maybe 3 or 4 customers who were very busy all the time.
Yeah.
And they kind of helped. And then we had we won a few working from home big companies. So it was 600 people to a package. We created a wee catalogue, email catalogue. They sent it out to all their employees, and they had 3 different desks, 3 different chairs, and they could have a monitor arm or whatever. And then we delivered them all over Northern Ireland,
like individually to houses.
Complete nightmare.
I would say that's a nightmare.
It was work.
But you do what you have to do.
Kept us going, and then we done another one. Emptied an office in Dublin and brought everybody's desk home, and they right up at the top of Donegal, all around. I went down one of the days myself to do the delivery, and it was like a wee country lane, and then it just opened up into this big castle of a house. I was like, but it was great. Like, it was because there was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So I went doing deliveries and went by, and it was. You know what? The first 2 years was great. I moved house
Yeah.
Was working in the garden, changing lights and faffing about, but it kind of got a bit tired. Not being busy is not. I'm not good at it. Like,
Yeah.
and watching your bank account just going down, and you're safe amount. No, I'll be all right. Oh fuck. Oh my god!
You keep resetting it and just going.
Keep on going. We'll be grand. But so the last 6 months before we started picking up again, and even now, we're just kind of getting back to normal now, because we're like the pipeline sort of things. It really was. The COVID now was a challenge. We'll call it
a challenge. But on to brighter things. So 27 years ago, or you're 23 at this age, or at this stage, would you have ever thought that this is where it was end up? Like, from buying a shitty van at, 1,000 quid or whatever, was it 1150? Was it?
It was £1,550.
£1,550.
And the boy was keeping horses on it. And it stank of pee.
Nice.
It stank of horse pee. And no matter how much we cleaned the back of that lorry, it stank of horse pee.
Right.
But that's how good the lorry was. The boy thought it wasn't good enough to drive in the road. He had it in a field with a horse living in the back of it.
Right.
So that's how much money we had to buy a lorry.
So from the horse box to what it is now, is it a bit surreal? Is it a bit? I know there's been a fair amount of hard work in between, but
I think that every now and again, I just like that sort of thing. Maybe the best way to describe it is, some days I'm in meetings, and especially like places like Dublin. So you're sitting in a meeting, and somebody turns around who's like, they've got a title like CEO or CFO or head of global something, and they turn around and go, "What do you think?" And like, me? You're talking to me? What do you think, Dawson? And you're like, "Oh fuck, I don't know." but mostly I've been in those situations a few times. It's like, no, it's not often now, but it just to be like at the start, it was like, well, how did I get here? How am I doing this? How am, and it's weird, but not as weird as it used to be, because I've been doing it for a while. But it's like, no, in my head it's like, they don't even know, I can't even read. So you get asked your opinion, and mostly I have one. But it's just some of the places that I've been to are like, how did I get here? Like, how does this?
But it just shows you, like, because you have the experience, and like that's your experience area, and it doesn't matter what they are, if they're CEO or CFO, it's just not their experience area. So they're kind of going to, right, like, what's your... And
when it first started happening, it was really weird.
Yeah.
Really, really weird. And it's... But again, it's not as big a thing. But every now and again, you kind of I have a wee like. Today's the day they find out that I'm a half-wit. Like. But so far, I've been able. I'm good at winging it.
Yeah.
That's kind of all like. I don't have to wing it as much as I used to. But that when people say, "Can you do this?" I was like, "Yeah, of course we can do it."
Yeah.
I don't know how, and I think that as well. I think that's probably one of the things. And a lot of people in business will probably say the same thing. It's just being honest with your customers.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, when we first started, if the deliveries weren't getting done because we hadn't time, it would be telling the van broke down.
Yeah.
Or telling we have a flat wheel, so I got kind of sick of that quickly, because it was like having 7 flat wheels and 2 blowing engines a week. So it was just, and I found that when I started doing bigger stuff, and having, when I first started as well, if I says I would meet you at 3 o'clock on Thursday, I kind of meant maybe Thursday, maybe Friday.
Yeah.
Or maybe Tuesday, or whenever I'm passing. I didn't mean what I said. And I learned quickly when we started doing bigger stuff that one in particular, I was late for a meeting and I got an absolute roasting, because there's 5 people at the meeting.
Right.
So there was people from accounts, people from here, people from there, and I just rocked up like 20 minutes late and I got an absolute roasting, and which was correct. But since that, like, if I'm going to be late, I text, I'm going to be late. And I don't say, oh, the van's got a flat wheel. If it has a flat wheel, I'll say it has a flat wheel. But if I say I can't do it that day, but we can do it this day, people can work with that. And I think that's part of that whole thing is like that why you get recommended is there will be problems.
Yeah.
That's what you do then.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. We don't bullshit people.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that just making sure, like, being honest with, but saying, right, like, there's been this problem, but this is what we're going to do to sort it. Unfortunately, it means this. Instead of trying to lie to them or not answer their calls or do something like that, that just frustrates people.
And what the thing as well as I found is that I was just say nothing was one of my old things as well. And then you don't rock up, and then there's other people coming behind you, and like IT or whatever. So if you don't tell them that you can't make it or you're going to be late, then there's 2 IT people or 3 standing waiting, and so I've just over the years, it's just my experience has been that it's easier to just be up front and work with people, and if there's like that, those people, we're pricing a job in Dublin and it's not going to be done in time. But if we say to them, "Oh, we'll do our best," even though we know full well we can't do it, then that's going to be a handling. Like,
but to manage an expectation as well and being realistic,
and if you can fix things, do it. But if it's just beyond doing, or it's going to just be too much hassle, just say, "Oh, I can't do it."
So there's a happy medium between kind of somebody saying, "Can you do that?" and you going, "I'm pretty sure I can do it. I'll figure it out," or like basically being totally unrealistic at the start and going like.
And the thing of that, yes, I can do it because I've got so much experience. It's like I know I can't. So I just say I can't. But I can't do that, but I can do this.
Yeah.
And then they can make the decision whether that's going to be okay or not. And again, most conversations are like I'm past this whole having to kind of doff your cap to people and all. It's like and I've had people shouting at me, "You're not the cheapest quote." I was like, "Right off, man." Well, I used to really panic about stuff like that. It's like, and the main people are just are fine.
Yeah.
And every now and again you get people who are just not nice.
Not nice, yeah.
And mostly with them people, there's only so much. I can make a choice now. I don't have to take that. And generally, what you find is the reason that they're being like that is because they have made a mistake. That they were supposed to order the stuff 6 weeks ago and they didn't, or they were supposed to do something and they haven't, and now they're coming to you to try and unload the blame on the. And when you say no, they that's when the noise starts.
Yeah.
And again, it's back to that. No, that's a great saying a boy told me years ago was like, if somebody comes to you with a problem, first question, is it my problem? And if it's not my problem, just give it back to them and forget about it. And I see those wee simple things, learning those wee simple things, because before I'd be panicking about stuff that's nothing to do with me.
Yeah. But is that things from a leadership course, or was that or just things that you've picked up?
I kind of been trying to. I've been on that kind of self-improvement thing for. I like that kind of changing how you think and changing how you do things and making things simpler. And as I'm getting older, I really am finding simple things make me happy.
Yeah.
Before we were talking at this, and we were saying, what did you imagine it was going to be like? Like I wanted the steel case of the biggest office furniture company in the world.
Right.
When I started off, I was turnover maybe £3,000 a month, and I was setting out to catch Steelcase.
Yeah.
We do 3 billion. So, and I just was this blind ambition, and then after a while it was like, get my part with that. And now it's kind of, I've since the pandemic, I don't work 6 days a week anymore.
Yeah.
I don't, and I'm finding it quite probably tough to get 12 hours work on an 8-hour day. It's not easy. So it's I've got a computer to the house about a month ago, which is the first time ever that I've had a computer to the house. I turned it on one day there, then I didn't touch it. I don't really work from home. Never really have.
To work is work and
work's work.
And
but
home
now, that's not to say that my brain isn't at work.
Yeah.
But
and your phone is probably
my phone. I would do a bit on my phone. Now again, even with that, I don't even read emails at night, because I know myself. If I look at it, I'll just answer this one, and then that's it. You're gone.
Yeah. 3 hours later, you're still there.
But I don't. And I'm doing. I definitely think that I'm doing better with that. but it's a slippery slope back into it when you're busy.
Yeah.
Just to go back to working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Because it's yours, I suppose it's difficult to kind of, and as you say, the control that you had previously. It's difficult to kind of just go, oh, I'll just let that, operate on its own and not really check in.
But do you know what? I take December off. I've taken the full month of December off this last 4 years, and that's great.
Do you golf?
Well, golf's maybe too strong a word.
You swing a stick.
I haven't played in this last couple of weeks because I hurt my back, but I do play golf. But again,
what's your gardening? Is it or
gardening?
Yeah,
I've got my new house. I've got a decent sized garden, and I've got all the toys and
set on lawnmower.
No, I've got robots.
Robot lawnmowers. Jeez, that's even fancier again.
Fantastic, best invention ever. If you've got a garden, get a robot.
I have a robot Hoover, but I actually had eyed up a robot because I think cutting grass is possibly one of the worst jobs.
I never cut the grass, but when we moved to the new house, the garden was that big. I was like, I'm going to have to sell a kidney to pay a gardener to cut this. So it's not now. It makes it sound like it's not that big. It was bigger than I'm willing to cut.
Yeah. It's not going to take 20 minutes.
My brother recommended it, so I hit the YouTube videos, and I was like, and then I got it. I just got it, and we hadn't even moved into the house, and I went to the lawnmower guy, and he came and measured it up and told me what I needed, and I paid him because I knew once we moved into the house that money would be spent and I wouldn't get them, so I paid him right away before we even moved in. But it was the best. That frees you up. Cutting grass is bobbins, but cutting down bushes and planting shit, and my whole Saturday. I stopped playing golf actually during the summer because I was enjoying the garden so much. But if you went back to 22-year-old me and says you really love gardening, I was like, am I? For sure.
But it is strange how as you get through.
The whole thing's changed. What I wanted it to be at the end when I was 22, and what I want it to be at the end now is I just want to be able to step out someday and stop. I don't know.
Do you think you'll ever do it?
No, realistically, no. I my father used to always say there's no fun like work, and every time I said it, he was like, shit, what are you on about? But I do enjoy work. I don't like stress.
Yeah.
And every now and then, probably with every business, there's times where it's stressful, and then there's times where it's nice, and we're just in a stressful. But now I can put it down to we had no turnover, or very little turnover, and we had no pipeline of work. And now we're working our way through, and the jobs are actually starting to happen. So it takes about 6 to 8 months from you say hello to somebody do you actually start fitting their work. So we've got work coming through now, and we've got work next month, and we've got work the next month, and we've got work the next month, which we didn't have when we came back after COVID. So it's back to some form of normality where we actually we know we can arrange that we've got footers needed on these days next month. Whereas we couldn't do that before. It was all really seat of the pants, and it was kind of tumultuous.
A tumultuous period. So just to move so you're actively involved in the local area, and you're a member of the chamber, and you're pretty big advocate for support local. And I'd be surprised if there's many offices in the area or the Northwest that you haven't been involved in some part. But do you think things are getting better in the Northwest? Do you think it's improving?
Definitely.
You can see things because you'd probably see it a bit earlier than most people.
I think there's people trying to address it, but I think there's a massive lack of good space, office space, and there's you go to Belfast or Dublin, and there's cranes and there's massive buildings being built, and sub infrastructure, and buses and fake trams, and Dublin is amazing. I was in Dublin on Monday, and I was down and straight through everything, and where I needed to be quick. The roads are like it's just better.
Yeah.
And there, I noticed things like, you know, building like foundations going in for big office blocks, and you just. But I think, and again, we're not Dublin, but it's like if somebody came here today and says, right, I need 600 people, I need a building to put 600 people. Where is the building?
Yeah.
Or you might get one, and you maybe possibly even maybe get two. But what if you get a third or a fourth? Or where do you put somebody who was 19 staff?
Yeah.
And you know, so there's a kind of a hole that could be like it's no build it and they will come sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, like Catalyst's full, so it's been built, and I don't think it's had an issue filling out. And then AXA ended up having to build their own, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that, like you say, and AXA only have what, like not. AXA really have, but
it's only 350 people. Like,
you know, but you know, you're talking about 600, though. You know, like, and there are companies who can come in and just go bang, right, 600. Like Fintry are taking, you know, are scaling up so quickly. But where do they put them?
The old thing for the area was, you know, that you went to England and people just didn't come back. Like and
or Australia.
One of my daughters lives in England.
Yeah.
And the other one lives in Doha. And the other one's going to Doha. So it's they're teachers. So now it's slightly different, but I did it. I went to England and I went to America, but I didn't stick it. But would those people come back if there was the facilities, and would the economy then, would the entertainment and all the stuff that, like,
the hospitality and stuff,
all, if there was, everything would feed out from it.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's smarter people than me will have to figure out how to get buildings.
But it is like, you know, there are some new offices and there have been some new employers and stuff like that. So hopefully over time it comes back. But you're saying like it's opportunity. You know, that's why it was necessity. Why people had to go.
Like there's some fantastic companies in there.
Yeah.
And there's some really forward-thinking companies, and there's people who are really innovative and developing, and then they grow, and then they outgrow, and then they go and have to open an office. No, they don't have to, but they open offices elsewhere because the pool of people isn't. I mean, again, I'm talking about my experience of this. I am not by any means an expert, but I'm just thinking like that's always been my question. If somebody came here to open an office, where's the office?
Yeah. And I think it has been a problem for a long time, and hopefully it's getting better.
Definitely. Like the road's nearly finished, and
everything's coming along.
Everything's class, and you know what? There's a real buzz about the place, like, and people are like that. Like for a long, obviously with COVID, we hadn't done any showroom visits, and that's weird. That's what we did. We would go to the client and we would have a conversation, and we would invite them to our showroom, and they would come to the showroom and they'd have a nice cup of coffee, and we'd show them all their wares, and then we would do some drawings, and then we'd give them a quote, and then we give on the job, and then we move forward. And then for 2 years it was Zoom calls and well, actually no calls mostly.
It was gardening.
Do you want a chair for the house? But the showrooms, our showroom is now busy again.
Yeah.
Maybe we have walk-ins, which we never had before, and people just coming in. Well, we haven't had it in a while, and then we're setting appointments. People are coming, and we're doing presentations again, and so that's good, and people are really sort of buoyant and really looking to do something nice. Even small 2-people offices are getting a wee bit of soft seating and a couple of a lamp. They're just
making their space nice, and
whereas before it was like they had a one step up from a milk crate. It was there was just whatever, anything will do. I think that kind of the office environment is improving, and bigger offices, but for the people, a lot of the people we're talking to are like have young people working for them, in their 20s and 30s, and this whole thing about millennials and stuff as well, like it's talked about in office furniture and office environments a lot. That nice coffee, nice chair, nice Wi-Fi. good Wi-Fi, good coffee, and good chairs. That was kind of how people were. It was kind of a joke, but it's maybe not that far from from what you were saying earlier about retention. So people see it as a real cost and a real detriment. But again, I am only giving you my opinion on this. I'm sure other people smarter than me would have something else to say about it.
But you would, as I said, you would probably see it a lot earlier in terms of, like, if things weren't improving, I suppose your pipeline wouldn't be what it is. And so the fact that that's there, it's it's good to see. But would you have any advice for somebody starting out on their entrepreneurial journey today? So if they had one kind of piece of advice, what would that be?
A boy who sold boats once told me, he said, you know how you make £1 million? You know how you get £1 million selling boats? Right, start with 2. I can't say. I would say that.
Or what would you say to 22-year-old you or 23-year-old you?
So I'm thinking, what would I say? Because at the time I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So it's more probably different if you had said to me now, right, go and leave your job and start up your own business, and you've got a mortgage and kids and all that stuff. I think it might be more difficult, but I had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Because I lived at home with my parents, and I was just about to get married, and I had nothing to lose. So everything was up from there. The main things, if you are starting your own business, the things that I learned at the leadership, it wasn't a leadership program, it was Livewire. It was an Invest NI thing, and they give you £2,000 bursary, so £40 a week for a year. But you had to go to this course, and a guy came in, and he was real, it was plonker was what he was. But he was a sales guy,
right?
And he was giving all the big licks, and he was all being funny and trying to be funny, but he said a couple of things that were they give some statistics in the early days, which 75% of businesses go bankrupt or close within the first 3 years, and all these really horrifying things, the statistics around new businesses. And the thing that he says, the 3 most important things in a new business are cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. So, and I've seen people, they start a business, and then they get paid for the first big job, and then they get paid for another job, and then they get paid for another job, and then they buy a Mercedes.
And
Then the tax man cometh. and the people who want their pound of flesh come, and you've got a nice shiny car but no money. Or there's a lean time, and but thankfully my father had been around the block a good few times. So he was like, and I obviously we never done this. We obviously had it in a bank, but he says you need money under the bed.
Yeah,
and you need there was never the guy had. We did that. We started putting money under the bed, and it wasn't for spending. And it didn't matter. It wasn't for spending. It was for the my word day. And I don't know when the one that hit the fan.
Yeah,
and we had I'd say that after about a year in business, I had £3,000 under the bed, literally under the bed.
Yeah,
and I would say that £3,000 is now that it never was actually spent.
Yeah,
it was just
emergency fund.
And it's just having that couple of pound in case, like when COVID comes.
That's what I was going to say. Is you had 2008, you managed it, and then COVID. But if you hadn't had the emergency fund, might have put your eye to it.
It was the first, as I say, it was the first time we were. If we hadn't had all those grants, we would have definitely lost money. And then that's still the rates were switched off, and everything was like a lot of the things which were really beneficial.
Yeah,
were good, but it would have been all the same. Like we still had to pay our tax bill for our busiest year, most profitable year ever was 1920 financial year. So we still had to pay the tax. And you can't go to taxman and say, "Oh, will I tell you about that?"
It's like a really sad
Any
story.
chance?
Yeah.
No, swear to God, I'm good for it. No, it's not how it works. So we had to pay the tax, and it broke my heart.
Yeah.
So we paid our tax for a really good year and a really shit year.
Yeah.
So those things. So it was.
So it's being conservative with what you do and not being, but you do see kind of quite a lot of like young business people, which, you know, again, it's not, you know, it's probably a learning thing that they have to do, but they do go out and go, I'm earning brilliant money, bang, I'm going to get a really fancy car that's maybe stretching themselves with affordability, and then, like you say, something happens and they're like, oh,
or they take the car out in HP and it's £500 or £600 a month every month, and it just keeps on coming and coming, and then I thankfully was just by pure luck, and I just kind of kept a sensible head, and I don't even know if I would say to anybody, no, absolutely love the job that you do. You'd have to like it. And you'd have to like it enough that when the day comes, and this is what I said years ago, was that when the day comes when it's tough, and when the day comes that you have to put your shoulder to the and give it a shove, if you don't believe in it, when that day comes, you'll just say, balls it. So you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in what you're doing enough that when it's painful, you just drive on through, because you don't. Otherwise, you'll just chuck it. If you don't believe, and
that's why people refer to it as passion and stuff like that. But you know, it's to get you through those periods where, like, you're going.
Some days it's hard to get excited about desks now.
But that's what, you know, like, there are days where you're kind of going, you know, like, say a series of things happen and you're dealing with clients and stuff like that, and you're kind of going, listen, I don't, you know, and that's the days where you have to like it and you have to. And I think
as you get, when you've, like the joke, no, the first 10 years are the worst. Like, it does take about 5 years. We were skint, and then we were skint, and then we were still skint, and then we got a couple of points, so we moved house. As you do, and then we were skint. So it's you I think you worked to your limit. Well, I did anyway. I worked to my limit, and then I done, like, some opportunities were presented and I took them, and some opportunities were presented and I didn't take them. There's very few of them that I regret now. There was one in particular that I had a fantastic opportunity and I got it, and I didn't know how to do it right. Though there's people who know how to put together sales teams and really capitalize on a fantastic thing when you're ahead of the curve. We had a product that was like half the price of everybody else's, and I didn't know how to capitalize on it, so we just done what we were doing, and we could have made an absolute killing on it, but I didn't, because I didn't know how to. And do you know what? If it happened again today, I don't know if I would do it. I don't think that's in the bang and bust kind of businesses. It's like 2 or 3 years of being amazing, and then it just stops dead. I don't know. I don't know what advice I would give to anybody.
Like, you've kind of grown organically. It's not to say that you've kind of, you know, borrowed and gone, listen, it'll be grand, just full steam ahead, and then the pandemic comes and you're like, and the bank are still looking for their loan, and you're like, well.
See, when we were driving back from that job in Dublin, that we stopped off at the harbour in Belfast to collect our brand new van, which we'd ordered because we were so busy. And then we drove it back to the warehouse and put it on and closed the door, and it didn't turn a wheel for 4 months. So it was fun.
Seeing the money coming out, going, that's good.
It was, but it's great. I don't know what the advice to give anybody is. I suppose it's like, do something that you enjoy and something that you're good at and something that you can, like, when it's cold and dark and you have to get up and get out and get on. Like, if you're not, passion's maybe too strong a word, but if you don't feel it, you're just not going to do it.
It's not going to last.
It's not going to last. So it's I kind of was in a lucky position, and I was in so much debt I had to keep on going.
The choice was taken from you. The bank said you had to keep working.
I couldn't afford to go back to being an electrician.
If you look back in 10 years, so 2032, where do you hope Dawson Hinds Creative Spaces is at that point?
Look forward then.
Look forward, sorry. No, sorry. If you look back in 2032, what do you hope Dawson Hinds Creative Spaces has achieved in the sorry, I phrased that wrong.
I think I would like. That the thing you hear people saying that if you own a business and you can't walk away from it for 6 months and come back in 6 months and find it the same or better than you left it, then you don't have a business, you have a job.
Yeah.
I have a job, and I have a great team of people helping me do it. Could I step away right now today and not come back for 6 months? Probably. Would it be better or the same when I came back? Don't know. Because I kind of do look after the bigger projects, and
so you need to work to make yourself redundant.
I think I would like the. I'm 50, and I would like to think that I'm not still bashing my head like this when I'm 60. So if you ask me in 2032, if I'm sitting here at 2032 and when I'm 60, saying, "Oh, I'm not sure if you have to be passionate, have a cash flow." I hope I'm sitting. I genuinely don't know if I could stop work.
Yeah.
I don't know. I take December off, and when I get back to work in January last year, I got COVID.
So you took another period of time off.
So I was off for another 10 days, or 2 weeks or whatever it was. And when I came back to the office, we weren't busy. We hadn't picked up yet. January's normally our busy time, so December's quiet and January's busy, so we're normally very good. I come back ready to hit the road running. But at that time it was like we were working from home and like working 2 or 3 hours a day, and I was ready for the mental. Like I definitely didn't, but we weren't allowed out because I had COVID, so we literally stuck in the house. And it was December, or January. There was nothing to do in the garden, and there's only so much faffing about around the house you can do.
You had all the lights fixed.
That was kind of a taster of what retirement would look like.
No,
every day Saturday. Like I don't know. I think I could. I don't know. I don't think I would like to still be working as, maybe hard's maybe a wrong word, but I don't think I would like the stress that I'm under.
Yeah.
And it puts me under the stress. So unless I kind of have a psychic change in the next couple of years, where it's like I can go on holiday. I can go on holiday and I can't switch off. But when I come back, then it's as if I was never away quite quickly. And it's like,
yeah.
And you get those days where just like, every now and again I get those, I wish I could just stop working. And the thing about it is, it's like everybody, technically you could stop working if you wanted, but no, you won't have the things that you have now.
Yeah.
I heard a boy saying, there's actually about 2 years ago, a guy told me someone, I vaguely knew him, but he knew him quite well. He retired, and he had like 50 or 60 people working for him, and he retired, and he says, "Don't ever retire because you're a nobody." He says, "I walked down through the factory and there were 2 boys standing doing nothing, and they didn't even run." They don't care.
Well, I actually know a guy who he's a pretty successful company, and he said, and he was being deadly serious. He was like, at the minute I take 3 months a year off, and my wife wants me to increase it to 6. And he was like, I just don't know if I can do it. And he's like, it sounds like a terrible problem to have, awful. And he's like, but genuinely, he said, what do you do? He said, because we end up going for lunch and we have drinks, and then we have drinks the next day, and then we have drinks the next day. And he says, so like, that's no life either. So there is a, what do you do if you don't do it? So maybe it's a few days that you do 2 or 3 days in the office, and the rest you look at your robot Hoover.
I'm out the gate at 5:30 every day. I don't like, I could count on one hand the number of days I've worked late this year, apart from traveling. And I generally, if I'm busy, I would maybe go in a couple hours early, but I don't stay
rather
late.
Than stay.
But I don't know if there's a good plan to stop work, because I don't know what I would do.
Yeah,
I really don't.
No, and that's the thing, is that work gives you kind of purpose, and if you do enjoy it, then you do get a bit of a as much as you probably don't like that minute, you do get a buzz from the finish.
Winning.
Yeah.
Getting the one in the project is the best, but then you have to deliver it. Can we not
have to do
this?
Can
we not just have all the glory and the money and not have to do the work?
Oh, you actually want me to do? Well, right. That's the serious questions done with. So a few fun ones.
I don't know if we took any of them serious.
Yeah. Well, out of all the fit outs that you've done, which is your favourite? You can only pick one now.
Probably, I don't know, the one that you would probably have to say would be something like learning pole or something, but I don't know. The next one.
The next one. See, so that's you winning the contract, and that's getting your buzz. That's where you get your adrenaline.
The ones that, like, literally, once it's finished, we're done. So it's I know it sounds like it's a corny answer, but it is the one that I'm working on or the next one.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That keeps you interested, though. Next holiday.
I was in Norway about 2 weeks ago, and I think we're doing a.
Hold on, that's visiting your brother, though, isn't it? Yeah, that's not.
It doesn't count.
No, not really.
All right then.
It's kind of a necessity.
We're going to a work holiday. We're going to work. We're going to Lithuania to a factory visit, and we're making a weekend out of it.
It's supposed to be a lovely country.
Vilnius is nice now. I was there before.
I flew through it, but never stopped.
It's nice. The old town where we were was nice. We're talking. We haven't booked anything, but we were away in Spain about a month ago as well. So I have nothing planned, but we're probably going to do something just after Christmas.
Skiing?
No.
Cruise?
Too fat for skiing. 2 ironing boards strapped to my feet.
Right. Favourite music?
I like the stuff that I listening to in the car is just kind of an eclectic mix, but if I had to choose, I would sort of listen to Bicep and
See,
Jamie
this is
XX and
who?
Jamie XX
Very good.
and that kind of dancey type stuff.
Hold on a second. Who, like, not Bedford, but a man in his 50s? Bicep is a great choice.
I wasn't always 50.
But he's pretty good. He's what, from Letterkenny, isn't he?
I was in Lisbon.
Is he from Lisbon? I thought he was from Letterkenny.
I don't know. I don't know where they're
but that's a very good answer.
They are very good. And then there's that, but that style I would like in Apple Music. I would listen to the Anna Luna, that kind of stuff. She says it, she's a DJ.
Does your wife like that?
No.
I see. You have the same problem. Turn that racket off. Favorite film of all time?
Film I've watched the most. The films that I've watched the most: RoboCop, the first one. Watched that over a zillion times. Limitless.
Limitless, another great show. RoboCop's aged quite a bit though.
Oh,
it's really sad.
Even the new one, the new one, I watched that probably. When I go to watch TV after work, I watch something I've seen before, so I don't have to. I can't think. I just don't want to think. I play my Xbox and I play the games on the easy level. I don't want. What do
you play in your Xbox?
Sniper game.
Like Call of Duty?
No, it's called Sniper 5, and you just basically walk around and shoot people from a distance.
Okay.
But I don't see them games that you have to have 9 thumbs and 7 fingers in each hand. It's like, no.
Well, I played Call of Duty online, and I was like, I didn't even know where I was being shot from. I was like, I can't do that.
Just to chill out, but
yeah.
So I've watched there's a few films that I would watch over and over again, but they're not cool. Like,
can't say them here. That's it. I'll have to ask your wife for that.
Easy watching.
No, easy. I would be in agreement on the easy watching. Favorite local business or local business person at the moment? People don't like this question.
Favorite's a strong word, isn't it? It means like if you were taking the as a person or as a business, I mean, now that I've said that, I can't say who I was going to say because they'll think, what do you mean? You like me, but you don't like me? He's like about that. Well, people who have done very well and are very good for the community, and like just kind of, there would be, I suppose there's a few big-ish businesses that people that run them are very fair and help support the local people like us and other people.
Yeah.
You would like Diamonds and E&I and
Yeah.
the Learning Pool, and like there's the usual suspects, but they're like who really support the local economy, and they buy what they can buy here from people who live here.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of there's a lot of people who are really like keep it local, and then there's other people who drive 100 miles to save a fiver. But there's a lot of really solid people.
I think that's kind of changing. People are, like it's coming back a bit where people are being a bit more conscious of what they do. But
I know there's people who are going to support local no matter if it costs a lot more, and then there's people who aren't. No matter what. Yeah. And but I do my best, and there's obviously some things that we can't buy local, but like our stock and stuff. But we try and buy what we can locally, and sometimes it's difficult, but in the main, we do our best.
Yeah.
But what we can buy here, we do buy here. I suppose is better.
Yeah.
But
right. So you won the lottery. What's the next thing you buy? See, you've thought of something, but you're checking whether you actually should say it.
No, it's like just buy a Rolls Royce Jeep.
Oh yeah.
And if you want enough, you could just put two big fingers up the side and drive up a Strand Road, or pay two boys to give the fingers out the window. I have arrived. I like cars, but I don't. Because of my generous proportions, I would look like a tut in most cars. Like, so a Ferrari's out the window, all them things are out the window. So it would just be, is that a Cullinan, I think you call it? And I seen one when I was in holidays recently, and I was just like, now completely unpractical. And
what is it, sir?
A Rolls Royce Cullinan.
Oh right, okay, sorry.
So it's a completely unpractical beast, like, but if you had enough money, you would buy one. But I suppose it'd be like everything else, then you wouldn't drive it.
but it's funny that you say, there's people getting out of Ferraris, and you're like, you're literally trying to climb out because this doesn't.
My dad was always full of wee one-liners and knowledge, and he always used to say, by the time you're old enough to afford it, you're too old to drive it.
Probably true. If you could have dinner with one celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be?
I don't know.
No?
I wouldn't.
Role models, no heroes, no.
No, not really. No, not that I can think of that I would.
Bicep, maybe.
My bicep. I suppose it's like if somebody sat down beside you, you wouldn't tell them to get lost. Like, are you buying?
Yeah.
Are you buying dinner? I can't think of anybody at the minute who I would like this. No, nobody who I could think of would say, "God, I'd love to go out for dinner."
Just anybody who's sitting at the exchange,
just don't get in the way of the duck.
I think you said that before, that the duck is
that's my favourite.
Scampi.
I only get two things ever in the exchange.
Duck.
The duck breast with Spanish potatoes, and the what do you call it, beef pita pocket with skins.
Yeah. Hard to beat.
And I don't even know why I'm overweight.
It's shocking. But it needs to look into that. But listen, Dawson, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully that's it for the second time.
Second time round.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Cheers.